So we've reached that hour. Our webinar is about ready to begin. And Greg, do you want to kick her off and get her going here?
Sounds great. Thank you, Gary. And yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to present with you and talk a little bit about the Precision Conservation Management Program, and as PCM, as we say, and kind of just frame up the program a little bit and help everybody understand what we do and how we do it, and kind of understand the methods and things behind the data that Gary's going to break down for us a little bit more here today. So as I mentioned, I'm Greg Goodwin with the Illinois Corn Growers Association and director of the Precision Conservation Management Program. And here at PCM, we work to help farmers understand how conservation practices impact farm and net returns, address water quality concerns, and help to prevent further agricultural regulation, and position farmers to benefit from positive conservation outcomes. And so, how do we do this? We work through a team of conservation specialists who work one-on-one with farmers to provide technical support. We have a data collection platform where we work with farmers to help pull in their management data on a pass-by-pass basis and pull this into our platform and break this down from an economic standpoint and a sustainability standpoint, and work to provide agronomy resources and expertise to help them understand any questions they may have related to making a practice change or things of that nature, or connect them to expertise when we aren't confident we're the right resource for them. And so on an annual basis, we work with farmers and provide all of that data back to them in a benchmarking fashion against other farmers that participate in the program in an annual report we call a resource analysis and assessment plan. And in this report, we break down for you the financial and sustainability benchmarking of every field that you share information with us and enter into the program to participate. And that includes economic cost tables where we break down the various costs associated with different aspects of your farming operation that, again, Gary will break down for us in greater detail here in a little bit. And then also provide environmental assessments coming from a few different models, environmental models and groups that we work with, namely Field to Market and Cool Farm Alliance, and basically operate the same benchmarking exercise related to environmental metrics and sustainability benchmarking. And so when we work with farmers, we understand that their time is very valuable, and so we actually offer farmers payments to participate with us just for agreeing to sit down and share their information. And we'll work with farmers across the spectrum, no matter what type of management approach you're taking. So you don't have to be a conservation-oriented farmer to participate. And in fact, we really are encouraging participation across the board from farmers taking any type of management approach. We look at this as an opportunity to work with you and understand how the economics and sustainability of your particular approach breaks down, and discuss that. And that gives us a good basis for comparison when we're working with other farmers in our program. So we actually pay farmers $750 to sit down and work with our program. That's $500 at start and an additional $250 after 12 months. At start, we collect 2 years of information, and then the additional year at that 12-month period, and that's when you receive that additional $250. And in addition to that, and getting the technical assistance and support of our specialists breaking down that report for you, you're also going to get access to exclusive program offers, cost share, and other practice assistance, and be made aware of NRCS, USDA programs, as well as private program offerings that are out there, that may be more locale based. And so we're trying to just help our farmers understand the gamut of different offerings available to them, knowing that there's more cost share opportunities and incentive programs and carbon market programs out there than ever before. And that can be a very difficult space to try to navigate on your own. So look at us as a technical resource. We can help to provide understanding and break that all down for you, and understand stacking rules and things of that nature. In addition, we also offer peer-to-peer education opportunities. So we set up and plan a lot of field days where we pull in, farmers that are doing specific types of management, whether that be strip till or cover cropping or, trying to reduce inputs, things of that nature. You can hear from those farmers that are trying that, as well as our staff, and see how our data demonstrates those practices are working out, and things like that. So just to give you a bit of background about PCM and how it kind of got its start. So this was all an effort initially launched by the Illinois Corn Growers Association in response to the nutrient loss reduction strategy that came out in 2013. And since then, we've been trying to work with farmers to help move them in a bit more of a conservation-oriented direction and help them understand how their farming practices and management decisions impact water quality and the nutrient loss leaving the state. And so you'll see at the bottom, we've highlighted the goals, both the interim reduction goals as well as the long-term total nitrogen and phosphorus loss reduction goals. And if you've seen any of the data coming out of these reports or participated in any of these conferences, you'll see that we still have a long way to go with agriculture and non-point source pollution. So if you have not, heard about our program or understood what we're doing, please reach out to us and at least have a conversation with us to learn more about, how your farming practices may be impacting water quality. And we want to make that very non-confrontational and just, talk with you and help folks understand exactly what's going on out there. Really important to highlight all the partnerships that collectively sort of make up PCM, help fund it, and help us do what we do and reach all the farmers that we reach. And so over on this screen, you'll see more than 30 partners here. Want to take a moment to just highlight a few super key partners and folks that really do a great job supporting PCM. Namely, the Illinois Soybean Association is a critical partner. Came alongside Illinois Corn to, co-fund the program and offer a base funding that we've then leveraged through other partner match to the tune of roughly 10x the investment of the corn and soybean associations, as well as leveraging both public and private money to really create good offerings that we can put in front of farmers and support farmers through the technical assistance that we offer through our specialist role. PepsiCo has been an amazing partner. We're very much helping to offer incentive programs and supply sheds that we work with PepsiCo on. Walmart as well came on as a co-funder of that program to co-fund all the acres worth of commodities that are used to source PepsiCo products sold in Walmart stores. As well as the other partners on this page. Just couldn't do it without them. Really, really huge in terms of helping us make an impact across the board. So just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of the current size and scale of PCM and where we're at and how many fields and acres we cover. And so as you'll see there at the bottom, we're currently working with approximately 520 farmers, collecting pass-by-pass management data and breaking that data down on over 8,500 fields. And that represents collectively over 500,000 acres. And so that was the sort of place we landed at the end of 2023 crop year. Expect to have another good year and scale additional acres and farmers and fields this year. And again, just cannot do that all without the 30 plus partners that we have for our RCPP grants as well as our Climate Smart Commodity grants. So here, just wanted to talk about our farmer-facing team and break it down on a state-by-state basis. So here in the state of Illinois, where I currently am sitting, we have 8 full-time conservation specialists who work with farmers in each of the different regions highlighted across the state. In total, we're working in approximately 35 to 40 different counties. Some we don't advertise officially, but we do maybe have a few farmers in some of the adjacent counties here that aren't highlighted, but roughly about a third of the state. And so while every program is going to be limited in its scale based on resources, we feel like what we are doing here is collecting a very representative sample of all soil types and landscapes within the state Maybe a bit of work to do in certain areas, but feel like we're, again, collecting a very representative data set that does do a good job of representing all the different types of farms in Illinois, and really just can't overstate the importance and appreciation we have for those folks that go out and work with the farmers on a one-on-one basis. You'll also see in the upper left corner, we have Clay Bess. He's our operations manager. He was our first PCM specialist, and just does a great job of working with the team, helping them, break down the data, train staff, and do everything behind the scenes to support those folks and make sure they're successful on the day-to-day. So PCM, we also work in Kentucky, and Kentucky was one of our partner states from the very beginning. Launched a region that's sort of split across 3 different key priority watersheds in the state. And this was launched in conjunction with the Kentucky Corn Growers Association, and our specialist down there is Chris Stewart. And so we have a little bit of a different approach in terms of how we work across the state of Kentucky, but stay tuned. We may have some additional news to share about Kentucky in a few months here. We're excited to hopefully say that, but we'll keep it under wraps for now. And then we're also working in the state of Nebraska. So again, through the support of the Nebraska Corn Growers Association and with the support of the Nebraska Soybean Association as well, we were able to launch a second region as of this year. So we've operated the Gothenburg region for about 4 years now, and we're able to hire Seth through one of our Partnership for Climate Smart Commodity grants and launch our second region out there, helping to gain a critical mass of data so that we can help provide meaningful insights to farmers across the state of Nebraska also. So quickly want to just, reiterate a couple points about our approach. We're here to take a very farmer-first and farmer-focused approach, trying to help provide farmers access to experts, access to exclusive class share opportunities. Anytime, we may be suggesting a practice change for a farmer, we want to be able to connect them to as many financial resources that we can to help share in that financial risk and just cost it down for them and help them understand the economics and where you can find financial opportunities to, help you overcome that risk as you make a transition in the way you may be farming. And do also want to highlight and can't overstate this as well. We really take a very data security focused approach. So any management data that you do share with us is owned by you, the farmer. We do have a data use agreement that allows the use of it in an anonymized, aggregated way. So we can break down insights, just as Gary is going to do today, to help others who don't participate in the program learn from what we are learning from our farmers. But as far as individual data security, we take that extremely seriously and can't overstate our approach there. We also do, again, offer that personalized data analysis. So again, you're going to get an annual report broken down one-on-one by a conservation specialist for every field that you enroll in our program. And we'll spend as much or little time going over that with you as you're willing to spend with us. And a lot of farmers find this really insightful based on survey feedback that we have. Roughly 2/3 consider or are likely to make practice changes based on the information they receive through our program. So again, can't overstate the meaning and value farmers are finding in the data that we break down for them. And again, important to really note, no practice change is required when you sign up to work with our program. We, in fact, are actively trying to recruit farmers across the spectrum, but specifically conventional-oriented farmers, just so you can, so we can have a great basis for comparison for the data that Gary is going to break down here in a little bit. So before I turn it over, I'll just mention a couple of opportunities specific to the incentives that I mentioned before. If you are in one of our current PCM operating regions, you are eligible to be enrolled in this program. So this is one of the USDA Climate Smart Commodity Grant programs, facilitated ultimately through Field to Market with PepsiCo as a co-funding partner, and also co-funded by the USDA. So we can't again, overstate the importance of partnerships and how that comes together to create offerings to farmers and to help share in that financial risk as collectively we want to see farmers, adopt a bit more in-field conservation. And so if you're interested in trying cover crops, interested in no-till, or interested in trying, reducing nitrogen, please reach out to us. Or if you're have already adopted cover crops or no-till, also please reach out to us. We also pay for existing conservation practices in certain areas, and so please reach out to us and have a conversation so we can help connect you to as many resources as we possibly can. I will also talk about another opportunity that is actually available statewide in the states that I mentioned, as well as across the other 20 Midwest states that make up the Mississippi River Basin. This opportunity is called Farmers for Soil Health. It is a cover crop cost share program that offers $25 per acre the first year, $15 per acre the second year, and $10 per acre the third year for adopting cover crops. And again, this is a Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities offering. Really a relatively easy to sign up for program, and that's sort of the entire point is, this may not pay quite as much as traditional NRCS programs for new cover crop adoption, but it's very easy to sign up for. Only requires a little bit of data to be shared. And again, we offer technical assistance related to this offering in the states we service, and are very happy to work with anybody that wants to contact us that may have questions about navigating either sign up or the agronomics of or decision making associated with adopting cover crops. So happy to talk with anyone who may want to sign up or learn more about this program. With that, we have our annual data publication that we release where we break down the top 25% most profitable farms in our program and examine a little more closely what they're doing so we can share those insights with other farmers. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Gary Schnitkey, where he will help break all this down for us and help us understand what this means.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. And I'm going to take us through some of the data here. But by the way, the business case for conservation, this publication has come out every year for a while now, probably since 2018. The current one, if you're looking at this, the business case for farming is available either on Illinois Corn's website or precisionconservation.org. So if you want to get your hands on this data summary, go to either one of those two sources, and you'll be able to download that data there. So I am going to take you through some of the data that's in that booklet and provide some analysis of that, as well as some observations on that data. We have been looking at these three things over time, and I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on tillage and cover crops today. Nitrogen management, we're going to hit briefly, but we're going to do a webinar on nitrogen management at the end of July that looks at that in much more detail. So that's the plan. And let's start first off, though, just noting what our data looks like. We now have data from 2015 to 2023. We're going to present mainly a summary of that data across all of those years. So we'll be looking at some of the data averaged across those years. Those years have been very different, though. And this is operator and land return from corn, and we're showing East Central Illinois and high soil productivity ratings. So this would be a higher productivity soil rating in East Central Illinois. One thing to note is 2021 and 2022 were profitable years. Those were the years of those high prices due to a number of factors, but the Ukraine conflict was one of those things that spiked those up. And now in 2023, we're sort of back to normal. We're back to levels that we were beforehand. This again is corn, and this is operator and land return. This isn't profit. So if a farm, the ownership cost of the land are not included in these numbers, nor are cash rent, or share rent. So this is before paying for the land. So that $282 in 2023 is before the land payment. So you can see what those numbers look like, and we're going to present averages of those. Again, we are going to be looking at tillage first. So we're going to break those down by tillage practices. And the way we're going to do that is we have different benchmarks for tillage. We have no tillage, which includes no tillage passes. And just to note here, these tillage benchmarks relate to the number and a bit to the type of tillage pass. They're only tillage passes. So no tillage, there's no tillage passes, as the name would imply. Tillage passes do not include fertilizer application. So a toolbar going over 28% with just 28% would not be a tillage pass in our benchmark, nor would an anhydrous ammonia application be a tillage pass. It doesn't include pesticide passes. It doesn't include the planting, and it doesn't include the harvest. And if you look at the number of passes over the field, they average somewhere between 7 and 8 per field. So, and the tillage passes are a small number of those passes. Another note, though, is that tillage passes have high relationship to environmental nature, soil erosion, carbon sequestration, and the like. So that's one of the reasons why we look at this. The other reason is because of profitability, and do we get the profitability that we think we're getting by doing tillage passes. Again, we break these out by no-till, 1 tillage, then we have 2 tillage passes, and we divide those out in light and moderate. Light would be something that's not deep, so there's no deep tillage, there's not a deep ripper in there or something of that nature. 2 pass moderates would include a deeper tillage, and then 2+ passes. We also include a strip tillage, which is run a strip bar. You make a strip generally in the fall, and then that is generally the tillage operation. So that's what our tillage benchmarks there are. And I'm going to start with a comparison of no-till and 1-till. And this is a summary from one of the tables in the booklet. So we're going to break that one table down. We're going to offer some observations on that. Again, these tables and all of these numbers that I'm presenting here today are obviously in the handouts, and they're also on the conservation case for the business case for conservation. No-till versus 1-till, and this is corn. Over those 2015 through 2023, we had 200. We'd like that yield. 219 bushel yield for no-till and 222 bushel yield for 1-pass systems. So these systems are, given that it's East Central Illinois, over 90% of the fields are coming from soybeans to corn. So we have no-till and 1-pass systems. We calculate the revenue, and that is from yield and selling that grain. We have prices that vary by year, and also the moisture level of the grain will impact the yield as well. So there's the revenue. We break down cost on these operations: direct, power, and overhead cost. Direct power and overhead costs are exactly the same big categories of costs that we use within our Illinois crop budgets, and those carry over into PCM. Direct costs would include seed, chemical, fertilizer, drying, storage, and crop insurance. Anything that is input, pretty much input. You plant the crop and you have those costs. Power costs relate to machinery. So as we're doing PCM, we have every pass made across the system or across the field, we take that pass, multiply it by University of Illinois machinery cost estimates, and that's how we come up with the power cost. And then overhead costs are hired labor, general insurance, building, and interest. And you're going to see we include those costs just to get to our operator and land costs, but they do not, in our calculations, vary across the systems. So you see here, no-till has a bit $3 lower non-land cost. And then operator and land return, and this is the return remaining to pay the farmer in the land again, 360 versus 365 for one-pass systems. So I'm going to give you a graphical view of this picture. And again, we're taking only two of these standards now, no-till and one-pass system. And by the way, this would be where roughly 60% of the benchmarks would fall. And if you go to the book, you can see the number of fields that fall into each one of these benchmarks. So if we break that down and look at that in more detail, one-pass versus no-till systems, we see one-pass systems have a bit higher yield than no-till, and that's rather consistent. When we do statistical evaluations of this data, we do find that tillage has a significantly positive impact on yields. Small, in this case, 3 bushels, but it does increase yields slightly. And as you're going to see later, we don't find that more tillage has a impact of increasing those yields. Non-line costs are total non-line costs are a little bit lower for no-till, but no-till has a bit higher direct cost. We see a little bit more pesticides in those costs. A little bit lower power cost. And again, if you think about a one-pass system versus no-till, about the only thing that's really changing is that one field operation, which is, if you're looking at a field cultivator or something like that, our cost of machinery cost of operations, depending on the year, would have that somewhere between $12 and $15. We'll catch most of them. And then you see the operator and land return, just a little bit lower for no-till. The revenue per acre obviously depends on yield differences between no-till and one-pass systems, and that has varied from year to year to year, and thus resulting in operator and land returns changing over year to year to year. You can see in the most recent 2 years, 2022 and 2023, if we look at all those years, no-till has had an advantage over one-pass systems, $48 in 2022, $26 in 2023. The biggest difference was 2018 when we had a $47 advantage for one-pass systems. So if you're looking at those from year to year to year, they do vary, and there is a statistically significant difference by year, but it's kind of hard to tell which year you're going to have before the year begins. So that is no-till versus one-pass systems. Over time, again, no-till has had a bit lower return, $5 in our system, and you can see how that has changed over the years. All right, now I'm going to take one-pass system here and compare it to two-pass light, two-pass moderate, and two-plus pass systems. The one thing that you will note here is that power costs obviously go up as the number of passes increase. So we go from 116 to 128 to 131, 147, and that's the number of passes increase. You also note that the two-pass light and the two-pass moderate have a bit higher cost, power cost. Direct cost are 131 for the moderate. That accounts for the higher cost associated with the deeper tillage. And then our 2+ pass systems have much higher cost. In this data, we do see a bit higher yields overall. There's a lot of variability in that. And when you come down, non-land costs go up. And for whatever reason, if we see 2+ pass systems, we also see direct cost increasing. So we're seeing pesticide and fertilizer costs primarily going up as we go from 1-pass to 2-pass systems. That then leads to higher non-land cost, and the 2-pass light system has $2, again, average higher returns over the period than the 1-pass light. That isn't statistically different, but in essence, you get, after you account for the cost, you don't see much of a difference in operator and land return. And actually, as you add higher levels of tillage, your return goes down. So no-till, 1-pass system, 2-pass light are pretty much neck and neck over the years that we have this data, and you don't get a return for higher levels of tillage other than that. All right, so that's corn, and now let's go to soybeans. Go from no-till to a 1-pass system. We again see that there's a bit higher yields for 1-pass systems, just a bit higher yield. And again, we do find that no-till systems have a bit lower yield, statistically significant across these systems. Direct cost for between no-till and 1-pass systems, direct cost over all these years are a bit lower than for no-till. Power costs are higher, and over this entire time period, we've seen $4.34 for no-till, $4.52 for 1-pass systems. So again, for soybeans, we see a bit higher return from moving from no-till to 1-pass systems. A lot of our operations use no-till for going in from corn into soybeans. Again, this is from corn to soybeans because of the advantages, but we do see a bit lower yields associated with that. So here shows the 1-pass minus no-till, our yield advantages, and sometimes they're zero. And in some years, we see a positive benefit from 1-pass systems. Our biggest was in 2015. 2018, again, stands out as a year when we had higher yields from a pass system. This, again, is for soybeans. And then going into 2023, we again saw 1-pass systems having a bit higher yields than no-till systems. Again, if we look at this over a longer time period, we again see power costs going up, have higher yields, but power costs do increase, and we see those increases going up over time, and total non-land cost increase. So sort of the same story. Now let's switch to the case of strip till, and we're looking more and more in detail into strip tillage. And here is a comparison. This is again for corn. This is high SPR. So we have yield per acre for 1-pass systems. We're comparing that to strip till. We see a 1 bushel lower yield, but here's what we do see. Direct costs, for whatever reason, are higher for strip tillers than no tillers. Power costs are a bit higher. And when we look at this over all the cases, we see $365 per acre in operator land return for 1-pass system. Strip till is $335. We broke this down and look at our most profitable strip tillers or strip till fields. And what we see is when we have the most profitable strip tillers have direct costs that are the same as one pass systems, roughly the same as the average is the same between these one pass systems. And they only make, tend to only make one pass with the strip bar. There isn't a freshening operation in the spring or anything of that nature. So when we look at the strip tillers and those that are the more profitable, which I'm not showing here, but what we do see is those direct costs are about the same, and we don't typically see more than one tillage pass with a strip bar. That's for corn. Here's for soybeans. We see in this case strip till have higher yields, higher cost, and those costs are a lot higher, and we see those in pesticide and P&K fertilizer. We again see a bit higher levels of power costs, but what in our data set causes strip till to be less profitable than the one pass system is this very high direct cost. And again, if you if cost can be controlled and kept at roughly the same level as one pass systems, the profitability of strip till can in some cases be higher than the one pass system. So just to provide a summary of tillage, we see some advantage to tillage for yields, but it may not cover the cost of additional tillage. There's little advantage to more than one tillage pass, and cost control is important when we're using strip till systems. All right, then we're looking at cover crops, and we have the table in the cover crop system. This happens to be soybeans. 1,340 fields used overwintering cover crops. There are winter terminal cover crops of 44 fields, and then no cover crops of 4,554 fields. So that this slide provides an overview of those systems. So we will, if you want to see more data on those, just go to the booklet. You can get see those booklet that more detail on those numbers. What we're going to do though is we took those systems and then divided out cover crops into categories and looked at the farms that had the more profitable cover crop fields. There's a booklet also available from both PCM and Illinois Corn that looks at this, and it's called Managing Risk with Cover Crops. Again, what we did was we took a system, took the farms, dividing those cover crop fields from most profitable, put the high 25% that were consistently in the most profitable group, look at what they did and talk to some of the farmers that did that. There is a webinar that we'll link in the description below that discusses that, as well as a booklet that shows results. Here's what we found from corn going into soybeans. We were looking at cover crop species, timing of cover crop planting, and timing of cover crop termination and planting of the next crop, which we're going to start with soybeans. And there is actually a fairly consistent system that's used by our more profitable cover crop fields. For corn going into soybeans, there is a recipe that has been developed that people generally follow with corn going into soybeans and cover crops between those. The first thing is that the species of choice is cereal rye, and we'll usually see that cereal rye planted, and why that works is it's a relatively low cost choice. It's less expensive than some of the other alternatives. It's relatively easy to establish, and you can plant it pretty late in the fall, and it will still overwinter, and it has the ability to consistently overwinter. So soybeans to corn, we typically see cereal rye as the species choice amongst our 25% more profitable operators. But the planting method does vary, but one of the consistent things is that it's planted after corn harvest. So you harvest the corn, and the methods of planting vary from broadcasting with light tillage, drilling, and then some have done with attachments to combine. The broadcast methods, the first two, broadcast with dry fertilizer, is generally, it has lower cost than drilling or planting, so it's low cost, but it has poorer establishment than doing a light tillage afterwards. So that system has moderate cost. Many farmers, once they get established with cover crops, don't use a drill, primarily because it's slow, and many farms don't have drills because it's not used for, or modern drills, let's say, because it's not used for many crops. So planting after harvest with a low cost alternative. And then the big thing is to plant soybeans early. There is a consistent advantage, and we can find this in PCM data as well, for planting soybeans early. We find the termination happens either before or after, and there's advantages to either method and disadvantages. Before planting reduces the risk of cover crops competing with the soybeans, but the disadvantage is that it decreases the chance of eliminating a herbicide pest. After planting, you increase a bit the risk of cover crop competing, but you also increase the chance of eliminating a herbicide pest. And what we hear is that reduction in herbicide costs, and we observe this as well, and increases in weed control is a benefit for planting cover crops. So to look at this, you harvest corn, plant cover crops after planting, usually with cereal rye, and the planting method is either drill, broadcast, with or without incorporation. In the spring, plant soybeans early and then terminate either before or after planting. If we look at those returns and we divide those out, cover crops with no-till have 67.3 bushels. No-till without cover crops is 67.8. One pass has 68 bushels. Almost very close in yields, causing them to be very close in revenue. Direct cost are 177, and this direct cost without considering the cover crop cost is 177 versus 189 with no-till. In essence, what we're seeing there, that reduction is because of lower herbicide costs. Power costs are a bit lower, but overhead costs are the same. But the cover crop cost in our most profitable fields are calculated at $25 per acre. That includes the cost of the cover crop itself and the method of planting it. We don't include the herbicides used in the termination process are included in the direct cost. That gives us total non-land costs, which are higher for the cover crop versus the no cover crop. With the no-till system, 308 versus 297. And operator and land return are a bit lower for cover crops. And in essence, what happens with cover crops and no cover crops, both no-till systems, is that what we see is that the cost of the cover crop itself is not covered by lower direct cost or higher yields. So, and we either, moving this forward, either have to figure out ways to get higher yields or get lower cost. In essence, what we find is there's no statistical difference in soybean yields between fields with cover crops and those without, particularly when you control for the tillage. We have lower direct cost and cover crop systems from reduced herbicide cost and occasionally lower cost, but the yield differences in reduced herbicide costs do not entirely offset the cost of cover crop seed and planting. So what we have to do is, and the interviewed farmers indicated this, is that revenue from another source has to be used to cover the cost of the cover crops, and that would include such things as EQIP and CSP, pay for practice programs, and hopefully emerging carbon markets can cover those costs. So soybeans to corn presents more of an issue. The agronomics make cover crops going into corn much more difficult, and the timing of cover crop planting and termination becomes more difficult, and costs are more difficult to control. If we see a place to begin with cover crops, it's in corn going into soybeans, or in soybeans the following crop. And we see three systems that show promise. And those clovers generally have to be planted before harvest, cereal rye after harvest, and winter terminal crops. Those are sort of the systems that are out there. The clovers would generally have to seed before soybean harvest, generally in late September, and you do need time for those clovers to establish, given that you're going into a standing crop, which is generally soybeans. In these cases, aerial seeding method is required. And the advantage is that clovers sequester nitrogen, which may be available for corn. The disadvantages of this system are higher costs associated with cover crop seed and seeding method. Cereal rye in corn. Planting after soybeans are harvested, usually low seeding rates, and strip till may have advantages. The individuals using these systems generally terminate early before corn planting, and the advantage here is that there's a lower cover crop cost, and the disadvantage is that we have a high reliance on cereal rye, which may be a concern as we're using cereal rye generally before going into soybeans, and you're planting a grass before another grass, cereal rye, and then going into corn. So we have a lot of grasses in the rotation. Terminal cover crop, and this one has some advantages. You plant a cover crop in fall. Terminated by frost. Oats and turnips are two of the bigger ones. Plant after soybean harvest. The advantage here is that it does not require special termination in the spring, and the disadvantage is there's no spring growth. Obviously, it's terminating, and so you're not getting any sequestration of nitrates from the growth in the spring. So that's what we're finding with cover crops. We'll note our upcoming webinar, August 1st webinar on nitrogen in corn. But just to give you a brief overview of what we're finding there, we've laid out different methods of applying nitrogen, mostly pre-plant, mostly side dress. So mostly pre-plant would be applying most of the nitrogen, majority of it in the spring before planting. Mostly side dress would be applying most of it in after planting. Over 40% in the fall, and 50% pre and 50% side dress. So those are different methods. These are laid out by profitability over the years, 370 versus 362 versus 351, 339. Our mostly pre-plant system has the higher returns. Typically, they've had nitrogen costs that are a bit lower, and applied is about, it goes up. Anyway, we will be talking more about this as we at that upcoming webinar. You can look at the booklet now for those details. And this is what we find with returns from different N rates. So we look at nitrogen actual N rates less than 150, 151 to 175, 176 to 200. You can see the profitability ranges here. We see that 151 to 175 to be the highest operator and land return of all the groups, and that as we put more nitrogen on, we see those profitability going down. So I guess we have a poll here, Jim. So if we put up this poll, is Greg around? You can answer this. And Greg, how are we doing here?
I think we're doing great. Yeah. Thank you, Gary, for all that detailed breakdown of our PCM data. And yeah, we just wanted to ask this poll question. Are you interested in enrolling in the PCM program? And the few response options here. And yeah, if you answer that you are, we will definitely reach out to you and provide you more information about that. And yeah, really love to have you join. And again, do not have to be already doing conservation or willing to make a practice change to join our program.
So we will get done with our poll here, and we'll show the results. I'm not sure I should click anything, Jim, because I might screw something up. So I'll let Jim do whatever magic he has to do to end the poll. I've been known to screw things up by hitting the wrong button, but you should be seeing this here. We have 35% already members, 6% have SIG, yes, have a PCM staff member contact, 12% when it's available, 47%, thanks for asking. We appreciate that polling, and we want to thank our sponsors. We always want to thank our sponsors. These are sponsors of our Farm Doc website: TI Cruff, Cobank, Compeer, and Corteva, and then Farm Credit, Growmark, Illinois Corn, and Illinois Soybeans. We really appreciate their sponsorship and the financial support that keeps this all going. And we also, I want to thank our educational sponsors or partners, College of Agriculture, Department of Ag and Consumer Economics, who employs me, Illinois Extension, and FBFM, all of which work closely with what we do. And we really appreciate all of their support and input. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. And if you have any questions, please put them in the poll box. I don't know if we have any coming up here. And here is PCM. Oops, excuse me. Here is PCM. And am I correct, Greg? If you scan that will lead you, if you scan the code, that will lead you to precisionconservation.org. Am I correct?
You are correct. Yes, that's where you can find us and be connected to a specialist that'll reach out and enroll you into the program or answer any questions you may have. You can also find the digital version. I think it's in the handouts for the webinar, but the digital version of the business case for conservation located on our website, as well as this year, for the first time, that same information broken down for low SPR soils. We've classically only offered that for high SPR soils, but this year we also have that broken down for low SPR soils, again, available through our website.
All right. We appreciate your time today. We appreciate Jim Baltz for helping behind the scenes. And we wish you a good day. Have a good lunch. Try and stay cool as it's heating up in Central Illinois.